All right, we are here with Muerra. We're here with a bunch of raccoons. It's a 3-mana 2/4. At the beginning of your first main phase, you add red or green for each raccoon you control. So, you play a lot of raccoons, and they're like mana dorks. Kind of like the other one we played in Blue Burrow, except they don't have to tap themselves. It's all spearheaded on a single card, which comes with consequences, but not entirely worse or anything. When you expend 4, you gain 3 life. When you expend 8, you Ren's Resolve, which is like exile the top 2, and then you can play them at your end step for the next turn, your next end step, not just like the one on the turn you expend it. Otherwise, you couldn't really do it, right? Because you spend 8 mana, you probably aren't also casting the cards you've exiled. So it's your next end step, or next one, because you know what I mean. So expending is just simply spending mana. You don't have to spend it on spells that you cast. You can spend it on abilities and stuff. There aren't really many things that I find ideal to spend it on in the ability sense, but it's nice to simply cast things and get this, especially when you explode with your mana. We're also green, so, you know, you got all the 1-mana stuff. I'm running every single raccoon worth running. I think there might be 1 or 2 that I'm not running in the entire game. I'm even running this. This is a terrible card, probably one of the worst raccoons, but it's a raccoon, and it's on theme, so why not just send it? Who knows? There'll be a game where it kills somebody, and it'll be funny. Or not. I'll draw it and then feel bad. The most powerful raccoon, or at least one of the most powerful, is Bramble Familiar. I didn't know this was a raccoon. You could have never have convinced me it was a raccoon, but it apparently is a raccoon. One of the few raccoons outside of the new set. Very good card, so it's in here. And all the changelings, because again, raccoons. Actually, what is our raccoon count in total? 16. Alright. It's better than 10. It's better than 10, alright? Okay? It's more than 10, so I don't feel bad about playing red-green ramp for the 20th time. I mean, the commander's kind of unique. It's interesting to see how often people ignore it. I know the last commander we were playing, was it the Weasel, not the Raccoon. The Weasel, everyone immediately wanted to kill my 3-drop, and that was not green, so it didn't consistently come in on turn 2. This consistently comes in on turn 2, and has a slightly less powerful effect depending on the matchup, depending if your opponent lets it live, depending on how many raccoons you have. So that's kind of neat. I did craft Ulamog the Defiler, so I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever actually played with it, but I would, expect to see this more in decks I play, because I now own one. Again, I'm a free-to-play player. No fancy lands, except Nykthos, which arguably should not be in here. And I don't have any of the Beast Whisperer, anything that draws a card when you cast a creature spell, and I probably should, but I want it to make room for the raccoons, for them to actually matter. And that's it. So it's just a bunch of raccoons. Hopefully they amass, form critical mass of raccoons, and then I kill somebody with them using the mana that they develop. The raccoons themselves are not very scary. Actually, they're very, very unscary, as unscary can be. It's like pack fillers, which, we've been there a couple times already in Bloomburrow with, like, the essentially very brand new creature types does not pull from a large pool of options. So that's just going to happen. There aren't exactly a lot of raccoons in Magic the Gathering. Maybe going forward, but as it stands, you're not a big pool to pull from, and it always just winds up being changelings for your jank creature types like wombats. So, like, comment, subscribe. Let's sift through some. Let's sift some dumpster dive. That's it. Let's do some raccoon dumpster diving. Let's play Untap Forest. I don't have anything exciting to ramp into, though. Still just the right thing to do. There's no way it isn't. Garuda is interesting. That means no 2-mana cards. Wait, how does this read? No, it's even. Contains only even. Yeah, never mind. Okay, that's an unusual decision, but I suppose it does kind of make sense. A little weird, though. I feel like maybe it's just the only thing they can do, and they just had to, like, dump the edict for the sake of it. Just looks a little weird. Let's see here. Always playing this, and I guess I'm always playing the other one. Yeah, we just want more mana in play. And what I gain? Three whole life. Surely that'll teach them. That'll teach them what for. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Okay. 8. Oh, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I cannot cast this. I'm 1 off. Tragic. Alright, just making sure. This is a human. This is a human. I can pick up Kogla. That's a human, ladies and gentlemen. My changelings are humans for Kogla. Look at that. Would you take a look at that? Would you take a gander there, boys? Enter the copy of creature and benefits. Yeah, alright, sure. They can copy Kogla, but then, like, it can't fight my Kogla. Okay, it fought Kogla, so now Kogla is indestructible because my opponent made a whoopsie-doopsie. Whoopsie-doopsie there, because I do, in fact, have a human. Love to see it. Love to see it. It means I'm not playing this, but I'm totally fine with that. Alright, my opponent was not. My opponent forgot that I had a changeling in play that was not only a raccoon, but also a human. Oh no. When was the last time I used I don't know the last time I used Kogla's ability. I really need it to be on the draw, excuse me, on the play, but I do have Hornet Queen if I can get there, which is kind of hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's, I mean, I don't know what I'm looking for if it isn't this, right? Like, why would I mulligan this? Turn 2 feather. Literally, turn 2 feather on the play. Excellent. Love to see it. I do have my commander on turn 2, but again, we're on the draw, so it doesn't really matter. This doesn't have reach or anything. Yep, it's just whatever. Not much to say about this. My opponent needs, like, stone cold nothing, which wouldn't make sense for their mulligan. Alright. Well, now I have no commander for probably literally forever, because they don't really kill cards, so I'm not really getting this in the graveyard. It's almost impossible to race this commander, but maybe I can race the commander. It's extremely unlikely, though. Alright, they didn't attack, which is a little unusual. I guess it kind of makes sense, but it still feels a little strange. Alright. I mean, I'm gonna cast my cards regardless. This has Menace. I'm not sweating that too deep, right? My Teapot Stinger has Menace. There's, again, not too much removal in their deck. Not too much removal. There's no enchantments, right? Yeah, I don't have anything like that. No attack again? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I... Hold on. This is kind of nuts. I mean, you can't block this now. You have no combat tricks. You're not representing anything. You can't block this. You're just taking 7. And now I have a wall of Death Touchers that you can't interact with. Oh, okay, sure. I guess you could block like this. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, Yeah, I kind of didn't expect them to, but... I mean, now I'm just in an amazing spot. Alright, they drew a land for the turn. Wow, I was, like, super pessimistic about it. Turn 2 Feather on the play is nuts. That's completely nuts, but they just didn't... They haven't done anything with it yet. I even lost my commander, too. I mean, if you're not attacking me... You have to gain... My opponent basically has to gain life at this point, right? Because blocking isn't enough, and you're not going to one-shot me. Alright. I mean, I was extremely pessimistic going into that, but my opponent, like, declined to attack. And then also... The only reason I'm surprised they declined to attack is because I didn't see any attacks... Or, excuse me, any blocks that would make sense. So you might as well send the damage. But they not only did not attack, they did not block. So, kind of crazy. I mean, I guess this is one of the better style things of killing Feather, which is just random raccoons. Alright, Yigura. Ton of removal. So, we have... Yeah, we have. Okay, I was about to say, have we gotten any mana? Yeah, we have. This hand is hilarious, but you know what? It's got, take out the trash. And we're a raccoon deck, so I'm not passing it up. And a turn 2 this. Turn 2 raccoon on the play is as good as it's going to get. In terms of this giving me value. However, the value in hand is not relevant, so I guess I won't really miss this if it dies. I don't exactly have anything to do with it. Ah, for which was my opponent's that... Oh, wait, nope. This is not as good as mine. Yep. I did draw a raccoon. We did draw a raccoon. This is a ramp turn, usually, so I'm not too upset with a removal spell. Actually, I would kind of prefer to see one instead of a ramp spell, because this does cost 5. And mine, again, is actually not doing anything at all. I just simply cast this. But my opponent doesn't know that. Opponent doesn't care. Tragic. Green, so we have 4. What does this do? From your graveyard, foraging, blah, blah, blah. Alright, sure. It does things later that are not currently. Why did I say I had 4 mana? Oh, I didn't play my land first. Okay. I'm old. You'll excuse me. Mountain. Yeah, I thought I only had 4 mana. I don't know why. Haha, you fool. I gained 3 life. And now I do nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so Atali on turn 4 is pretty good. Just ask Atali players who put it in the main deck. I mean, the command zone. Atali on turn 4 is actually pretty solid. So says Wizards. So says I. Whoop. Still only expend 7. Wait. No, the free spells I don't think are expend. So I don't think that works. Man, it's like impossible to expend 8. Jeez. Didn't really think of that. Oh, hey, I got Ulamog, so the game's just over. That works. Yeah. I'm going to exile 2 lands. I don't care about their board. I just got him. Alright, yep. Why am I winning? What's happening right now? Oko? Wait, is that the... This is the, this is not like the Oko. This is the weird Oko. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. I've never played against this one. Yeah. Hopefully it's not just blue-green degeneracy and Oko matters, but it would be worse if Oko was plan B for us, obviously. However, Delighted Halfling is just, like, stupid, so maybe it just solos them and half their deck were counterspells. I don't know. Half their deck is counterspells, not were. Looks like it is the case. Haha! Surely that's not a bounce spell. Nah, it looks like it might be. Yeah, it looks like there's some kind of bounce spell. That's unfortunate. Although it could be worse. Not really that upset with that. I mean, it doesn't die, right? It is a bounce spell. They just chose to bounce this instead of my commander, so maybe some kind of humiliate? That's unusual. It is a humiliate. Alright, so pan ultimate curve. That's fine. Play this. And then do nothing. Alright, well, Another game where this doesn't do anything. Unfortunate. At least I am kind of a fan of this being a problem, though. That's kind of neat. I didn't anticipate that. People are very scared of the weasel and apparently very scared of the raccoon as well. Can never be too upset with that. Alright, we're scrying. They're playing another card I don't think I've ever seen anyone resolve. Interesting. I would like to swing at this with these two, but maybe... Is there an alternative that makes more sense? I don't think so. Power 2 or less. Okay, of all of the options, this is by far the best one. Because it swings past Oko tokens, and kind of need to do that, right? I didn't see how they scryed. I wasn't looking. Go on, play the Oko. Play the Oko. Make it 3-3. Or, something else. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's really over what's going on. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it does allow them to block, though. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A land would be Colossal if I don't draw one. Not the end of the world, although I really wish I did draw one. Okay, so... Yeah, this is kind of ugly. This is kind of ugly. Alright. Send it. I can't get rid of the halfling because I'll just lose the game. Probably at this point. If I lose lose access to that. Because I'm banking on like my 6 mana here and not finding it. Opponent's draws are better than ours, but at least Jace isn't drawing a card. Wow, draw 2, discard 2? There must be a land in a 1-drop, otherwise this is very unusual. I mean, I've never played against this, but that's still just an odd thing to do. Okay, wait. Combat, Oko... Yeah, wow, they just forfeit their commander. So this and Birds of Paradise, so we go to combat. That's kind of insane to me. That's kind of insane. Hold on, wait. If I go here, do I need this for anything? Green, green. I can only play... Oh, jeez. The colors in play are just so ugly, is the problem. Alright. Yeah, the colors I have in play currently are just, like, miserable, but this doesn't contribute. So we just do these two. I could play... No, I can't. What am I talking about? I just talked about that. I could play this too. No, I don't have the colors. I just talked about that. Don't listen to me. Don't you listen to me. Cyclonic Rift is out of the game, and they can't immediately... Okay, sure. So they can't immediately River's Rebuke. Not that it's an ideal thing to do, but, you know. This is a legendary, so Delighted Halfling is still degenerate. I could play Vorinclex instead, however, Kogla maybe is slightly better, although I don't really know, actually. I don't know. I'm not playing Craterhoof. Oh, whoop. I'm literally not playing it. I don't have the mana. I think this is slightly better. It doesn't change my opponent having an answer if that answer is some kind of, like, bounce spell, but this is probably better. Famous last words. So, doot. Really? Alright, I like this trade a lot. Hopefully it's not a combat trick, but I think it's a bounce spell. Alright. Yep. We've played against a lot of blue decks with a lot of bounce spells today. Actually, most of the bounce spells I've bumped into I've not really ever seen before, so... Oko is not a good play. Oh, look! It's River's Rebuke. Wow! Who would have guessed? Wow, Cyclonic Rift and River's Rebuke. Must be nice. Phenomenal. My commander's online, except it's a little slow. I would love a land right now. Oh, I got a land. Oh, oh no, this costs 7! Oh, the bounce spell taxes it. Actual nightmare. Okay. Actual tragedy. Actual shambles. Okay. Well, on the bright side, my opponent only has 2 cards I don't know about, and Oko isn't inherently scary. And neither is the Jace. They've done a lot of scrying with it, but it hasn't, like, look at my hand, right? Yeah, I'm kind of fine. Especially if they... Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, if they just have a land here, this is completely fine. This card now needs to be very good, or they had to have drawn something and they chose not to. I mean, I'm gonna send the same thing. It looks like they have yet another castable card. Unfortunate. I don't see why I wouldn't cast this. So let's cast it. I don't see why I would not do this. And there's no reason to not go to combat before I continue my turn. So I'll just go to combat. And I'm going to send both at their thing. Okay, it's just removing it. Alright, that's fine, that's fine. My opponent's out of gas, right? Like, we're kind of fine. Oh, I expended 8! I did it! I did it. It almost took an hour, but I did it. I actually expended 8. It threw me for a tizzy. I saw it trigger. I'm like, wait, didn't I already gain the life? Sweet. Look at that. Alright. Alright. Okay, do you have a land in hand? You must, right? Yep. That's pretty good. You can still proliferate loyalty, even though it's a creature, because it just simply has loyalty counters on it. This Jace is becoming like a crystal ball, one of my favorite cards. Crystal ball is just sitting there doing that every turn. And now, my opponent has no cards in hand, so unfortunately, after all my opponent did to finagle me to never have a scary board, I now just immediately win. So, GG. Yeah. All the bouncing, and they had no counter spells. They had no counter spells. That was neat, but yeah, they had Cyclonic Rift, they had a bunch of bounce spells, they had 2 Humiliates, shutting down my commander the entire game, and then shutting down the Vorinclex. So they had like a lot of tempo-based interaction. They didn't ever get to this wash away, and yeah, we beat the 2 like extremely degenerate mass bounce spells, which is a good sign. If they never dealt with my commander, we would have done what I just did a little bit faster. So they really had to have it in order to have a game in the first place. But scrying 2 is very satisfying, I won't lie. All of the damage I did, basically the entire game, went into this card, and it didn't die. Which is really, really crazy for an opponent who never had a big board. They did a very good job of keeping this alive. However, all that bouncing and tempo was not capitalized on, as there was no serious counter pressure, and I could just sort of keep doing the same thing over and over. It is loot. This hand is terrible. This hand is the opposite of terrible. Kind of. Let me play it, please. Thank you. Play something my opponent can't kill, as per usual. I almost want to kill their Manadork if they have one. It's very likely they do. Otherwise, they fetch here, but I don't know. Alright, they just had that. Alright. Yep, I'll take it. Someone who didn't crack on my end step give me PTSD. Just assumed there was a Manadork and there just wasn't. Alright. Okay, nothing here either. Let's do this, let's do that. Let's play this. And leave up the trash. This is a 1-2. Very vulnerable to, well, a lot of things. I can't target it right now. I don't have the mana, but... Do they play it? Beginning of your upkeep. I mean, loot likes to be played very quickly. They didn't have a 1-drop, though, so I don't know. Maybe they just forego loot. I mean, I have loot just completely manhandled, so they would be wise not to, but they don't know this. EI, you got it. Shift enter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 7. I can't play this. I don't even really want to play this next turn, but it's so early in the game, I probably should play this. It just exists as a massive threat, and I don't see how I don't like that. You know what? I'm actually going to do this too to get the expend 8. I'm just going to do this. This is not as good as, like, random 2 cards, in my opinion, so... This just has to be right. And if it isn't right, well, I'll stay wrong. But this feels slightly better. Like these would have just been in the way for my next draws and stuff, and now they're not. I have a serious issue in play, and Teamer does not deal with this, like, at all. So, pretty good for us. Sure. What are we exiling? What are we doing? We're getting rid of that. Alright. Pretty good. Did I just win? Hold on. I think I just won. Yep, I just straight won. Alright, I went from being extremely far ahead because mana dorks to I just straight win the game. Yep, alright. GG. Oh, I forget Craterhoof expends 8. Alright, instead of pushing the pass button, they conceded after 20 minutes. Nice, works too. Yep. That was, I guess it really paid off that I dug through the trash with our random lightning bolt card there. Okay, so I actually really liked this. Just like the Weasel, it's extremely powerful on turn 2, right? Except you're now green instead of simply red treasures on 1. I can also play the green ones, so it's extremely consistent to put it on turn 2. This was as threatening to my opponents as the Weasel was, right? So people really wanted to kill it all the time. This has the benefit of being a 2-4 instead of a 3-3. I mean, it's kind of weird, actually, now thinking about it even more, that, like, this fits the criteria of dodging 3 damage spells as the Weasel does not. I know it's a green card, so, you know, toughness and all that, like, green stats are just better, but it's just kind of interesting. Like, that's extremely notable. The fact that this has 4 toughness just means it doesn't die to lightning bolt or a braid or the other 25, like, and this is just for the most part red cards, so your red matchups are substantially better just because it's a 2-4 and not a 3-3. But aside from that, expending 8 is kind of difficult, if not outright impossible. I did do it a few times, however, for the most part, I didn't really get to do that. There is an argument to holding cards, so you can cast 2 cards in the same turn cycle, so then you can do that, so you're getting card advantage, right? That's not too common in a red-green deck. I mean, green has it all over the place, so that actually what I've said isn't true, but red-green, like, the red side doesn't normally, but, you know, there's a lot of value to be had for just getting free Rens resolves every turn, or maybe every 3 turns or something. I didn't do too well when the board was completely gummed up and we're staring at each other, which was kind of surprising. Although maybe not as surprising as maybe taking a second look at it, because there are a lot of cards when we are looking at each other with a bunch of creatures. My creatures are substantially worse than my opponents because I'm playing things like Junkblade Bruiser. People are not usually playing things like Junkblade Bruiser. So when you're sitting in play staring at each other, your cards don't have as much text. Which means I'm really banking on the really expensive things in my deck, which is a typical green thing. I did like the mid-range Raccoon beatdown distraction. It was kind of neat. It was not terrible as long as my commander lived. If it was not alive, then all of my Raccoons felt like draft fillers that did not add mana, which is terrible, right? Playing this just so it can be a forest is bad. And the only reason it was in here was to be a forest because my commander must be in play, right? And then it's a forest or a mountain. Most of the time forest, but, you know, a land. Let's just call it a land. This only adds 1 mana. I don't see this card's text box as being remotely relevant. The most powerful thing this is... Actually, you know what? I'll go as far as to say, if this lost its text box and just said add green, it would be better. If it lost trample in the expend in the +2/+1 thing, and it would just be better if it literally said tap this, add 1 green. It would be a better card. So take that into consideration. This absolutely could have been Flare, greenness. I can't remember the green flare, but the green flare, cultivate, any 3-mana ramp spell, Hour of Promise, because I guess that's a 5-mana ramp spell, and this is 5 mana. You could just do Hour of Promise. There are so many cards that are better than this. I just want it to be in the Raccoon theme. But this one specifically is the worst one, in my opinion, Raccoon-wise. It is 5 mana, and oh boy, is it not ideal. I mean, this one is also kind of not ideal. Like, it's got reach, though. I kind of like the reach thing. It's kind of neat, right? It's got the life gain, sort of, but I mean, oh, jeez. When you push past 4 mana, and you're only considering creature types past 4 mana, which is what these two are, you're entering, like, Omega Jank territory, and they really borderline don't justify their existence. So, those should just be, in some of the 4-drops too, should just be ramp spells, right? And then we just have, like, slightly less of a Raccoon package, but, like, more of a just normal green ramp thing. Because look at our deck. We have all this, right? We're casting ramp spells. We never feel bad about that. We have all of this going for us. We could even run Ren's Resolve, and the other, exile the top 2. You can play them on until the end of your next turn things. There's plenty of those. It's on theme with this, trying to get a critical mass of cards. So then this itself gives you expend 8 as you're casting 2 4s, or a 5 and a 3, or some reason you have a 1 and a 7. Not very common, but same outcome. So you could do it like that. I just don't think that makes a lot of sense, because then you're just playing this and you're not playing any other red-green commander that does something similar, just way better, right? So I'm, again, just trying to stay on the Bloomburrow Raccoon cute creature theme, as that is the set. And I will say, even with the Raccoon synergy not basically borderline non-existent, outside of this one card, it's still interesting that these commanders are not totally dead in the water. Like, all of the cute creature types of the new set have relevancy to some degree, way more than I would even argue Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which is very surprising, right? Like, Outlaws is kind of like MH3, Modern Horizons 3 spillover. It feels like cards that didn't make it into MH3, and they're just like in this other set instead. That is not the case with Bloomburrow, but for some reason, these critters are actually not terrible. And there's like a lot of commanders in the new set that are not like broken and like meta defining, like they're not POC, but they're still pretty good. Which is very strange, because they require, to a degree, a creature type that doesn't have a lot of support across all of them. However, the ability on them is pretty significant. Like, it's just, it's telling that for some reason, I keep saying that, for some reason, it's telling that these are pretty relevant for your opponent to deal with. Like, they see that, and they're like, oh, I gotta kill this. It is an odd thing, right? You would look at this and be like, well, it's just like a mana dork that creates more and more mana as the game goes on, but you gotta keep in mind the things I'm casting with all that mana are like draft fielder Raccoons, right? At least that's my mindset. But if ever I untapped with it, I was now a looming threat of random giant scary thing that was not a Raccoon, right? And it seemed as though a lot of people were aware that I had the capacity to randomly cast a 6-drop that was not a Raccoon, and then just suddenly play a Tolly, suddenly play Craterhoof, suddenly Wormcoil. Like, it was just people were on their P's and Q's about that, which is a little unfortunate for us, but it just goes to show that the capacity that the ceiling that this has is actually higher than you would think, which is really cool. It's really cool. It makes me want to play more commanders out of the set. The blue-white bird one I'm kind of curious about, but staying on the subject of this one, yeah, if I ever untapped with it, I was never really upset. A simple mana dork in your command zone is kind of fine, especially on turn 2, right? Just turn 1 ramp, turn 2 this, turn 3 4-drop. It's fine. It's completely fine. My 4s were really bad Like, my 4 slot is terrible, so if I was super into the min-maxy, like Perfect Curve, 1 into 3 into 4, or actually 1 into 3 into 5, you know, hitting a land every turn, my 4s and 5s absolutely should have been better. Maybe even dropping all of these cards. I'll probably still keep Chandra, it's just, like, really good. But dropping all the other ones and just going, like, all of the explosive vegetations that you can play in some random 5 drops like Elder Gargaroth or something like that, and then just concede that the Raccoons, the Raccoon plan is over once we're past the 3 drops. And I think that's totally fine. If I put like another 5 hours into this commander, the 4s and 5s would probably just be ramp spells, and maybe generic scary beaters on 5, or just more ramp spells and more 4-mana ramp spells, right? Like, that way I don't have to have the 3rd land. I could just, like, keep a 2-land hand a lot, have a 1-mana ramp spell into this, and now I have 4 mana, play a 4-mana ramp spell, and then we're just going. My commander is less relevant because now I can just send out the 6s. So you could play it like that, but, you start to leave the Bloomburrow, and you're just going more into generic red-green ramp, which, if you want to win, you kind of have to, like, play the game. You can't just do random jank stuff all the time. So some of these 4s and 5s, if not all of them, could have just been something else. But for the 5th time, trying to stay on the Raccoon thing. So the weakest part of this deck was the Raccoon thing. The weakest part was just playing, like, random draft filler Raccoons. But red-green ramp is so good that you can do that. And you have a slight upside of all of those draft fillers when this is alive of being mana dorks. And now you are doing really fine. So it's a little swingy when you have a critical mass of dumpster divers and it's alive and you need it to live. It starts to get swingy when it doesn't live and you're like, oh wow, the game is now over completely because I did not have backup ramp spells. So there's probably a middle ground where you can run ramp spells and also have this matter with some Raccoons, which is cool. So I actually do recommend this. I do recommend it. I think it's a pretty decent commander. It's, I don't know, different enough is the quite the justification for running it if you're looking for a new thing to play in red and green, because you're stuck with jank Raccoons. But if, again, you sacrifice some of the Raccoons to make your 4s and 5s better, it's actually pretty solid. It's pretty solid, so I can recommend it. So let me know what you thought about it. If you have random ideas that I somehow didn't have with this, that don't involve more Raccoons, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.